And, people say the voice of the Blazers. Bill Schonely is and always will be the voice of the Blazers. I'm the radio voice of the Blazers. That's my title. I'm the radio voice of the Blazers. There will only ever be one voice of the Blazers. That's Bill Schonely. I get to sit in his chair.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy. But I'm going to push back a little bit on anyone who wants to say, oh, you got handed this, or oh, your luck. You know what life is? Life is about luck and opportunity, and a little term that goes by the line of seize the moment.
Yeah.
And guess what happens to 99.9% of the people who get swung into that seat? They swing and they miss.
Yeah.
And all you can do is hope for an opportunity in life and then seize the moment. All right, it's the Fit for Radio podcast. I'm your host, Drew Tiedemann, and we are here at the beautiful Stafford Hills Club, where we do all these podcasts. You should check it out, staffordhills.com. Right now, they just opened up Studio X. This place is incredible. High rocks, training, power, endurance, foundations, they've got it all. Members and non-members, you can get yourself set up for unlimited classes or just drop in and hit them up one at a time, but it's really kind of taking over the whole fitness world. CrossFit seems to be such a thing of the past. It's High Rocks Training, and Studio X has it for you, an official training club right here at Stafford Hills Club. Like I said, go to staffordhills.com, tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. In studio right now with me, I haven't seen him in a hot second, but looking young and spry as ever. A buddy of mine and also a guy that I am so proud of where he is in his career. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the Portland Trail Blazers, Travis Demers. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? I when I parked and I walked up to this place, I wasn't familiar with it, and it's kind of tucked back a little bit. And I see, like, the pool, and my kids are learning to swim right now. They're doing swim lessons, and, like, this place is nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice spot.
And it's a saltwater pool, too, which
really
the nice thing about that, and I didn't realize this, and you're raising boys, but my girls, there's so many tangles involved in chlorine. And you actually don't get all tangled up with the saltwater pool, and you don't get the chemically skin.
Sure.
And if they're in the pool all the time, it's kind of nice to have.
Tangles is something I've never had to deal with ever, whether it be myself, my kids. So that's something I would never have thought of in a million years.
No, yeah. With a boy, you're more likely to, like, get a wad of gum out of the side of their head or something.
Dude,
like that.
I've found gum tucked into, like, the cushions of the couch. The other day, I found a spoon that had dried Nutella on it stuck in the cushions of the couch. And what are we doing here?
Yeah, there's just reckless abandon. So I would say one of my parenting fails is my 2.5-year-old, the caboose of, I got the 11-year-old, 9-year-old, and the caboose. She demands gum all the time. Like, I truly believe a 2.5-year-old shouldn't have any gum.
Yeah.
But she's addicted to it. Gum! And she'll demand it in order to get into her car seat. So we made the mistake of feeding the beast.
Yeah.
And once you throw
Feed
crackers,
it once and now it stays.
Yeah, you throw some crackers at some ducks, they're not going to stop wanting crackers. And so we're doing that right now. We have to keep, like, a jug of gum. It's not just like a slice. There's a
What
jug.
kind of gum?
She likes those little cubes.
Okay.
Icebreakers.
Yeah.
They might be called.
They come in, like, the little, like, the jar thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the $9 gum jar.
Yeah.
She'll just rock right through that. But we could go on all day about gum in the hair and the demands of a 2.5-year-old. But we're really here to talk about you, Trav, which I've always, and I love to kind of softball share your story with people who are, climbing the ranks in a job of their own, or they don't necessarily love where they're at in a job, but they know where they want to be in a job. And you kind of emulate all of that in how you ended up being the voice of the Blazers. I mean, there are only 30 teams in the league, so, it's not a job that everybody can have, but nobody handed it to you. You went the long way. You grew up in Westchester County, New York, just outside of New York City.
Yep.
How close to New York is that?
I mean, with no traffic, which doesn't exist. I mean, it'd probably take me an hour to get to the city. You drive sometimes, but mostly take the train. It's like a 50-minute train ride, considering all the stops. And if I was going into the city, that's how I would go. It's a lot closer to Connecticut, like really close to the Connecticut border, but maybe 45 miles north of New York City.
Because I mean,
Manhattan.
That's the biggest radio market around. Now, when you're thinking about that, are you able to hear those radio stations where you live?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so it's all piped in.
Oh, yeah. So I got all that stuff. I grew up on WFAN, so I think I was 11 or 12 when I discovered sports talk radio, which would have been around, 1992, 93-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So, I'm 11, 12, 13 years old, and I'm listening to Mike and the Mad Dog in the afternoon, and I'm listening to play-by-play at night. The WFAN at that point had the Knicks and the Rangers, and St. John's basketball. If I wanted to listen to the Yankees, I'd have to flip over to WABC. Any of the New York City stuff would come up to where I was, but also sometimes you'd get the Hartford stuff at night coming west.
Oh, okay.
So I would sometimes listen to Chuck Caton call the Hartford Whaler games, and interesting connections there. But there was so much of where I was that you were exposed to everything, right? Because you had all of the New York City stuff, you got some of the Connecticut stuff, every sports team, all of that stuff was readily available right there.
So now you're a sports and a baseball guy, and we'll get into that. But when you first start listening to these things, and you're finding sports talk much younger than your average person is. Are you immediately thinking about yourself in that role, or are you just a fan in the beginning there?
From the second I heard it, I wanted to do it. Right. So I'm even like the overnight guys. So Mike and the Mad Dog, if you think about this, they were on from 1 to 7 every day. That's a long show. Maybe it was 2 to 7. It was a long show. People don't do that.
No,
right?
and in a sports role too, you can't stop down and play music.
Right.
You have to talk the whole time.
Right. So now, sports talk radio back then was really caller driven, so it was a little bit different than it is now. But so those guys were on in the afternoon. At night, when my parents would make me turn the TV off and go to sleep, that's when I was listening to the overnight guys, the Steve Summers and Ian Eagle was doing overnight sports talk radio back then. So I was listening to him before he became a play-by-play guy doing overnight sports talk radio, and that's kind of where I listened to it and fell in love with it. And I learned a lot, obviously, because you're hearing opinions and perspectives and things like that, but you're learning subconsciously, you're learning how to do radio by listening to it every single night. And it's funny because, when I'm that age, like not being allowed to watch TV at night, not being, I had a TV in my room, but I wasn't allowed to have it on. Got to be off. So my parents never thought that I'd be listening to the radio, and I'd be staying up late listening to the radio. I had a ceiling fan, so I would ask my mom, can I turn on the fan? Yeah. She had no idea I was talking about the radio station, WFAN. She thought I meant the ceiling fan.
Well, she said yes.
Yeah, you said yes. So every single night from the time I was, 11 or 12 until I was allowed to watch TV at night, I would listen to it every night, whether it's play-by-play, talk, whatever.
That's incredible. And really, that's the kind of stuff that forms you. Now, put it into perspective, I think I was listening to the High Five at 9, some top 40, trying to hit that one hit that I wanted before it fell out of the 5. But I did love sports growing up, too. My oldest brother was into it at a young age like you. We used to watch Larry Bird and the Celtics, and I kind of fell in love with sports. And he's a Jets fan. I did not follow him on that path.
Are you a Vikings fan?
Yeah, I picked my own loser.
Yeah.
4 Super Bowls, no wins.
You can commiserate together.
Yeah, but nobody can call me a front runner as a Viking fan, Blazer fan, and even a Duck fan. We don't win championships, but we get close. So you played some baseball growing up, and even briefly in college. What was your baseball career like?
Yeah, so baseball was my life growing up. Like all summer, that's all I did. I played on travel teams. I went to camps. From the time I was 12 to the time I was 17, I would go to the baseball camp at West Point. So I spent every summer at least a couple of weeks up at West Point. And
do you sleep in like a barrack?
Yeah, we would sleep in Grant Hall.
Would they make you? Did you have to make your bed all crazy?
No, we didn't have to do that. But it was very regimented, and we would take 5 showers a day. Because you wake up, take a shower, go play, come back, take a shower. go have lunch, go play, come back, take a shower. So maybe it was 4. I don't know. We took a lot of showers. Like they made you, right?
So 5's a serious, that's a pruny body.
Well, you're going out 3 times a day and playing in July.
Yeah, and they don't want a bunch of sweaty teenagers or whatever.
Exactly. But we would eat in, the same dining hall that the cadets would eat in, Eisenhower Hall. We would walk through, we had to walk in 2 lines. If we walked by the 4-star general's house, we had to be quiet. We were not allowed to walk in the grass. At 6 o'clock every night, we would hear the cannons go off, meaning they were taking the flag down. So we had to stop and turn that way and wait until we heard the trumpets that it was time to keep walking.
They do that every night?
Every single night.
Wow.
They take the flag down, they fold it, all of that. And then we would walk through this thing called the Beat Navy Tunnel. And every year that Army had beaten Navy in football was painted on this wall. And even at 12 years old, we had to do the chant of walking through it. Beat the hell out of Navy. Beat the hell. At 12 years old, they made us do that.
Not just beat Navy. Beat the hell out of Navy.
Yeah. So I've been to the Army Navy game once. I am a huge Army football fan. I listen to the games on the radio. I listen to Rich DeMarco. If they're on TV, I'll watch them. I've got lots of Army gear. My kids wear it. They're not competing for national championships, right? But our Army is my team. I grew up going to the games. That's when it comes to college football, that's my team. But anyway, back to your question, I go off on tangents. So I would go there every summer. That's where I learned a lot of my fundamentals and things like that. I even got to coach there for a year or 2 at the end. And I would, play on travel teams. I'd play in the fall, played in high school. And then when I went to college, they were a D1 team, and I wanted to try out for the team. So I played in the fall. I tried out on the fall team. And my very first at bat because there's like a fall season.
And this is Long Island University?
This is Long Island University, yeah. So there's a fall season. And keep in mind, like graduating high school, I'm like 5'8", $145, right? And I'm a catcher. That's not the size of a D1 catcher.
Yeah,
right?
It's a little light on height.
Yeah, they wanted me to play second base. I hadn't played infield in a long time. So they send me up to the plate and, for one of the practices. And this dude's just throwing BBs faster than I've ever seen in my life.
Just straight lightning.
Yeah. And I pulled one of those, close your eyes and swing. And I hit a rope right back up the middle. And I get to first base. I'm just like, so the coach was this guy named Dick Vining. He was an old guy. Graduated college, graduated UConn 1955. Old guy. This was the fall of 99. And he pulls me over. He's like, I like the way you swing the bat. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's a blind swing.
Yeah. So I played on the fall team that year. There was one game we were playing Iona. I think it was Iona. And I hit with a pitch in the shin. We played instead of playing 2 7-inning doubleheaders, we played 1 14-inning game because it was, the fall. It didn't really matter. And I'd been the bullpen catcher that whole game. So he yells down to me. It was like the 13th or 14th inning, whatever. I run down, I strip off the gear, and I go right up to the plate, and this dude's throwing fast. It hits me right in that muscle right next to your shin.
Oh, yeah.
And I start like walking down to first, like hobbling down to first base, and the third base coach is like, hey, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Like trying to hold back tears. I'm 17, by the way, because I didn't turn 18 until the end of October my freshman year of college.
Okay.
So I'm still 17. Little dude. And the first pitch, the next dude hits a ball into the gap.
And you got to go?
I'm hobbling to second. I go to the third. The third base coach is waving me around.
No!
I got thrown out by like 10 feet. So at the end of the season, the end of the fall season, they said, hey, we like you. We think you have a future, but we want you to come back out again next fall. I was having shoulder issues anyway. I didn't really see a future in it. So that's when I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say I played college baseball, like there are pictures of me in a college baseball uniform, and I did get to play, some college baseball, kind of, but I wouldn't say that I was ever a college baseball player, especially at the D1 level. So that was kind of my experience. And then I've coached high school baseball. Here I coached at Aloha for a while. One of the guys that I coached there pitches for the Pirates right now, Brandon Eisert. So there's a lot of pride right there. But yeah, baseball has always been my first love.
Well, your last week's podcast guest was an Aloha high school graduate, so we got a lot of tip of the cap. And now he's got a crazy rock band. So good things coming out of Aloha, and it's great coaches like yourself, Trev.
Yeah, that's it.
And when it comes to like playing college sports, it's just different.
Yeah.
In high school, not anyone, but a lot of people can be a star and stand out. My oldest brother played college soccer. Now, there's 4 of us who all played soccer, but he was the only one who played at that next level. And even then, a couple of years into it, and you're bench warming because there's these other guys who are the greatest guy at their school, and you're spending all your time, you're grinding, and it's not like heeding the result. So after a couple of years, he's like, I kind of want to do college, rather than try and chase this because it was my dream. I mean, we're not going to the MLS or wherever else here, so let's just call it. I mean, and to this day, he plays intramural soccer, and he's 48. So like the itch is in you, but there comes a time where you say
you have to be realistic about it too. Like, so to your point, you're especially at the D1 level, the players around you were the best at wherever they came from, right? And they're really good. Almost our entire pitching staff were kids from Puerto Rico. So they went out and they farmed these
it all.
Arms that were really, really talented arms to come pitch. Like, you're not facing a kid from Puerto Rico who's throwing 96 when, you're playing John Jay High School. That's not happening. It is a completely different world. And I wasn't anywhere near talented enough to go anywhere beyond that. If I played D3 or something, maybe I could have had a nice little career, but there's no future there.
Plus, it's good that you stay there because at some point you decide to put your eyes on your future and you realize that you want to be behind a microphone.
Yeah.
And it looks like in pretty short order, you get yourself a slot there doing TV and radio.
Yeah. So that's the main reason I went there. So the way that Long Island University is structured, there are a couple of different campuses. There's the Brooklyn campus. That's the one most people know of, the LIU Blackbirds. The CW Post campus is where I went. That's more out on the island. And since then, they've combined them. And that's, they call it one LIU now, even though they're 2 separate campuses. They changed the colors. They changed the logo. It's the LIU Sharks now. And it's all combined as one. Like, the football team is out on the island. The basketball team is in Brooklyn. Instead of having 2 separate basketball teams and things like that. So, but when I went there, I went there because they had a real radio station. And because they had a TV club with a closed circuit station and a radio station. And I started with the TV my freshman year, and I actually it was terrible. I had no business being on TV. But by the end of my first semester freshman year, I had a weekly TV show because I stepped up and I was trying to do it. And I ended up keeping that for 4 years. My second semester freshman year, I went to the radio station just to see what was up.
Okay.
And I was doing like some music stuff, and then I wanted to do sports. They had no sports there. There was a long history of sports there, but it had been about a decade since they really had any. So I wanted to do sports. So slowly but surely, we brought it back. I started doing play-by-play my sophomore year.
Were you doing hoops? Or were you doing football?
Started with football. It was a D2 school. So I started with football and then basketball. So my first year I was doing football and basketball. Men's and women's basketball. Then I did some lacrosse, some baseball, everything. But when I left, the sports department was cooking. And here we are 23 years later, and they're still going strong.
Still going.
So I'm pretty
nice.
proud
You're
of
a
that.
big part of kind of putting a pulse on that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the success they've had.
And I think it's commendable also that even though you're kind of the first to bring it back, to get the play-by-play job is not easy, because especially without a ton of experience doing it.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure those first couple broadcasts, there's some...
Oh, they're awful. I've tapes of those somewhere. The very first play that I ever called was the opening kickoff return for a touchdown. And it was, I had never called play-by-play.
Trial
ever.
by fire.
Yeah. The dude I was calling the game with had no idea what he was doing. He didn't understand the difference between play-by-play and color. So we're both yelling at the same time, and you don't hear anything at all, right? And it's no fault of his own. Like, we had both never done it before.
Yeah.
And we really didn't have an advisor. We got one a little bit later on, but it was just a total S show.
That's wild. But for you to also call that type of play, like we couldn't warm you up for a few rounds.
What wasn't a touchback or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that was crazy.
Fully heart beating out of your chest after a play. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
What's coming next? Now you do this, but then eventually you kind of bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And you went and got an internship with ABC Sports Radio.
Yeah.
Where was that and how did that go?
So that was in New York City. And I would go in twice a week, unpaid internship. And when I got there, radio's changed, right? So this is the spring of 2002. So back then, not everything was internet based and things like that. You couldn't just go get clips.
No.
There was a service, I think it still exists, it does still exist, called ABC Sports Call. And they compile everything, highlights, sound bites, everything. And then they send that out to all the affiliates across the country. So a small station in the panhandle of Oklahoma can get these big highlights. And that was my job, was helping put these things together. And I did that for the first semester was the spring of 2002. I did it again, a second internship the spring of 2003. And then they hired me about a month before I graduated to work a couple of nights a week to do the overnight shift by myself.
Oh, nice.
So it was $120 a night. I would drive in to the city. When I was in college, I would take the train in. When I went back home, because the train stopped at 2 a.m., I had to drive in because there was no way of getting home. And I had to pay like $30 a night for parking and all that stuff.
You're basically giving all the money back, but you're doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah, exactly. It was an in. And an opportunity to see how things were really done professionally with some really awesome people. I don't want to be the name drop guy. There were some people who would come through that were pretty big names that would do some of the sports reports and things like that. And I got to do some interviews. They sent me out by myself to go cover a Mets-Braves game.
Okay.
First time I had been credentialed media ever in my life.
And you're at a major league game.
Yeah, and it's Mets-Braves 2002. I had no idea where I was going. I get on the train, I take it out to Shea, and I still have the credential, even though they spelled my name wrong. And after the game, I go into the Braves locker room, and I've got a little ABC mic flag, and I was real nervous. And the first person I see when I walk in was Chipper Jones.
Oh, wow.
Butt naked at his locker,
I was gonna
turned to me. I have never seen a human being more bruised and beat up than
just
Chipper
his whole
Jones
body was just rattled.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for the other media to come in, and I see them talking to people, and I go in and I stick the mic in, and I ended up that day. What they wanted me to do also is they were running some features for ESPN for kids. So get a couple of minutes with whoever you can and blah blah blah. And there were a couple of guys that I was really nervous to talk to, but I got a couple of minutes with Greg Maddux one-on-one that day, and then I went over to the Mets locker room. And I would start in the Braves locker. Congratulations on the win, blah, blah. So I went over to the Mets locker room, and I see Mo Vaughn. Jeff D'Amico was the starting pitcher that day for the Mets. Now I'm so nervous coming out of the Braves locker room, and he's sitting at his locker. I'm like, congratulations on the win. Did you even watch the game? And he wouldn't talk to me because they lost, and my brain was still over in the Braves locker room. I learned a lesson that day. Yeah.
And he was done with you at that point.
That was it.
The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by Motorsport Hillsboro, where they have the easiest and best financing, and of course, an incredible selection of whether you're looking for a motorcycle for the road or the dirt or a side-by-side. They've got you covered. They also have all your water sports and everything else in between covered. But today we're talking about incredible electric mountain bikes, and the deals are on right now at Motorsport Hillsboro. The Gas G Light Trail 2.0 electric mountain bike is there right now at up to 60% off. You'll save over $3,000 off MSRP on this brand new bike that'll have you hitting the trails like never before. Go faster, go harder, go up the big steep hill to get to the view. It's all right there at Motorsport Hillsboro. Check them out today, and the easiest financing around at motorsporthillsboro.com. Also brought to you by Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. All things water and waste are covered over there at Axiom, and any job in the Portland area or Vancouver, they got you covered. Doesn't matter if it's a big job or a little job, and 10% off your first service when you say that I sent you. Let's get you that discount with a good quality company, or save up to $500 off a new water heater. It's all right there. And the cool thing is, this is a locally owned and operated business, not private equity. You want to meet Bruce and the gang, who will take care of you just like he has my own family. See everything they can do for you at AxiomPDX.com or give them a call at 971-431-4810. AxiomPDX.com. I mean, you're doing some pretty cool stuff with the ABC thing, getting to go into the locker rooms and to like be a part of things on that level at that age is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, it was cool.
But you still have to continue to bet on yourself, right? Because those things kind of, they run their course and then you have to find your own path. You took a serious path, as in the Oregon Trail.
I've never thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah, you basically did. You got your wagon train together and you crossed the entire country to come out to Oregon to call high school football and baseball games on the Oregon coast. Not just, you went farther the Oregon Trail. They stopped in Oregon City.
Yeah.
You went all the way to the coast. Where were you?
Yeah, so Astoria.
So all the way.
Yeah, so I was working for a company called New Northwest Broadcasters, and they had a cluster of stations out there. 1360 KAST in Astoria was like the main one. And the guy that hired me, he was doing all the Astoria games on that station. I was working for AM 840 KSWB, and I would do a different game in a different place. Like one week it would be Seaside. Another week it would be Napa. Another week it would be Warrenton. So I'm coming from New York and working in New York City, and I'm calling games at Warrenton High School, which is a two-way school. And no offense to Warrenton, a lovely place. The people there were really nice. It was just a complete culture shock to me. So what I had done is I had subscribed to this job website, and I'm throwing stuff everywhere. I applied for the Auburn radio job. I still have the letter that Auburn sent me thanking me for for sending my tape, but they were,
Yeah, not quite a Tiger.
Yeah, I didn't have any business there. So I got offered this job. Hey, you come out, do high school football on Friday nights. And then when the basketball season starts, I would do 2 games a week for basketball. And I never ended up doing baseball. I was going to, but it didn't end up working out. So I did football once a week, basketball twice a week. $50 a game.
Wow.
Yeah.
So so when you do this, what's the plan? Like, how are you do you have to get a restaurant job, or what are you doing? Or are you just living in squalor?
Oh, man. So,
because that's just not going to cut it.
My plan was I didn't want to live out on the coast because Portland was the market that had the NBA team.
And you had a bigger plan.
Right. And I was going to be on ESPN within like a year, of course, man.
As soon as I get through this Warrington season.
So before I moved out here, I looked on the map, paper map, for a place that was like in the middle. Like, okay, I can get to Portland. I can get to the coast. Scappoose is in the middle. I'll go check that out. And I had an apartment lined up, and I went to Astoria, met with my boss, Matt Rickert, who, by the way, he does Hops games now in Portland State, and like I still talk with him. I've broadcast Hops games with him a couple of times. Like, this is the guy that brought me out here. It's crazy how this business works.
Small world.
So I went out with him. I stayed with him for a couple of days, and then I went to check out this apartment in Scappoose, and the place was a total dump. I'm like, I can't do this. So I ended up finding a place in Portland over by Moda Center. It was like $500 a month. And which in 2003, like, you could find places like that.
I was going to say impossible now, but at the time that's still a pretty good deal.
So I had to get all kinds of other jobs. I worked at Champ Sports at the Lloyd Center.
I could see you at Champs.
Yeah, and then I got
nice
fired.
Jordans.
I got fired because they wanted me to work Black Friday, because in retail you have to work Black Friday. But I had a basketball tournament to go call out on the coast. They didn't care.
That's my job.
Right. So I got fired from that job. I did construction. I was doing demo and roofing and stuff. Eventually, and I had to do that for a long time. My parents have an interior decorating company, and most of the work they do is in Connecticut and things like that. So I grew up, installing blinds and drapes and all this stuff with my dad. My boss, when I worked at 1080, worked at a interior decorating place in Lake Oswego. So I would do some work for them. Like,
nice.
I did an entire building installing blinds downtown one summer. They paid me like $8 a window. Did the whole thing by myself. The Street of Dreams one year, I went in and installed some window treatments in there and stuff too. So everything that I could possibly do to make a few bucks to live, I would do it.
That's impressive. Now, you how long do you do that? Because at some point you end up covering the Blazers for KEX in 2003.
Yeah.
And you're only making $25 a game collecting post-game audio there. Are you able to do both, or you now have to switch?
So I did the stuff out on the coast. It was, football and basketball. And after the basketball season, I didn't, that was the end of that. But when I first got here, before I got here, I called all the radio stations in town. I called what was then 910 The Fan. I called KEX. I called KXL. And I got a call back from The Fan. They brought me in for an interview. And they said, okay, we want you to go cover an Oregon State game. This was September 12th, 1993. I'm not 1993, 2003. I don't even know what year it is. September 12th, 2003. They're playing New Mexico State. I had never been to a major college football game before, with the exception of Army, so I drive down to Corvallis. I've got my little recorder. That was when Derek Anderson and Steven Jackson were playing for that team.
An epic team.
And in the press box, I'm sitting next to Scott Lynn, who is a Portland sports radio legend and TV, and he was the sports director at KEX. And we're just talking the whole time. And he's like, do you want to, I need somebody to string for the Blazers, which means you just go into the locker room and hold up, the microphone and then go edit the sound.
And just don't say the wrong team won and you can't screw it up.
Yeah, basically. The good thing about it in the NBA is, like, there are 15 people around. All you got to do is hold up the mic.
Yeah, you're good.
And I was doing the visiting team. So they had somebody else doing the home team. I was doing the visiting team. So he hired me basically to do that. So come the first preseason game, 5 weeks later or so, I'm working for KEX, covering the Blazers, going to the locker room. Some of the things that happened that year, the famous Rasheed Wallace CTC. I was standing 2 feet away from him from that. They cut the check.
Yeah.
But what's funny is what happened at the Fan is that they told me. So I drive down to Corvallis, and I get sound, and then I come back and they said, Sunday morning, come to the station, call this number, and someone will take the tapes from you. I called the number. Nobody answered. I waited around for like an hour. I'm knocking. I'm looking in. And this was, the Intercom building over now, Odyssey, but the Intercom building over on McAdam.
Yeah.
And there's nobody there. I called the guy who hired me. Nothing. And so I called on Monday morning, and I'm like, hey, there's nobody there. He's like, okay, we'll just bring the stuff in now. So I did. And like, well, we can't use it now because all the morning stuff is done. So basically your work
all
is
for
totally nothing. And they paid me the $50 for it. But they never called me again. So now,
which is brutal because that wasn't your fault.
Right. But,
but it is what it is.
Yeah. So I'm covering Blazers games, and doing my thing. And I'm sitting in the media section with all of the people from the media. So I got to know people, and I'm talking to people. And even then I didn't shut up. I would talk to anybody who would listen. And I eventually, come that April, got a job at what was then 1080 The Fan. They had just switched over to 1080 from 910, running the board for Mariners games for minimum wage, which was like $6.80. I got a raise to like $7 something when the minimum wage went up. So all I was doing was just pushing buttons for Mariners games, and that got me started over there.
And it's kind of one of those things, you kind of have this motto where you just said yes to everything.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, and I, growing up in the same career and doing it for many years, and we didn't mention this, but you and I worked down the hall from each other for a long time, and that's how I got to know you. And I did the same thing for a long time, where it's just, okay, I'll do the overnights. Okay, I'll take my first official, when I got afternoon radio, my salary that I signed the contract for was for $17,000 for the year. I made $17,000 a year in Eugene to do our show. And so I get it. But it is, as a 45-year-old man who has turned down a few radio jobs recently, it's tough to say yes all the time. Yeah. And it's easier when you're young and you've got that fight and that hunger in you. But I was
ignorance.
Yeah, that it will work out.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. It would have never worked out if you hadn't said yes, if you hadn't sat in those rooms. And that's what I always thought was commendable about you is, you've worn every hat. Like, just going through some of the list of the things You were the K2 traffic reporter.
Oh, yeah.
Were you in a traffic car or were you in studio?
No, well, so I was working, I had a side job at Metro Networks doing traffic on the radio. And we were in this little like cubicle area where there were like 5 or 6 cubicles and everybody was doing traffic reporting for a different radio station. K2 was looking for an on-camera traffic reporter. So
you have good hair.
Thank you. Thank you. So they had me audition for it. And I got the job. I'm 24 years old.
Yeah,
and
young blood.
I still don't know the area all that well. And I'd been doing radio traffic for a little bit. So I'm in the studio, right? And I'm on the air with, Helen Raptis and Carl Click and Julia Radlick and like these TV news pros. And I'm this idiot 24-year-old guy who likes to do sports on the radio. Now I'm on the morning news with them and had no idea what I was doing. And I learned a lot from them. Really, really great people there. And having that opportunity, to do a little TV, I did it for a year and a half, and then they let me go because they had a sports anchor job that opened up, and I applied for it, and they wanted somebody who was more committed to traffic. So I lost that job.
You lost that job because you applied for another position?
Within the same station, yeah.
But it's like I want to get ahead here.
Yeah.
I get it.
But to answer the other part of your question, they had me, when I was doing the radio traffic, they had me go up in the plane a couple of times.
Ooh.
And now this is a 4-seater plane. And I am claustrophobic and I hate heights.
You're made for this.
Totally. And I also don't know the area all that well. Now, when you're up in the plane,
you're like that freeway on the other side of the river, clogged up.
Yeah, exactly. So, they had me go up there, and I'm looking down, and I'm seeing all the traffic. You fly at a low enough level where you can see everything, but there are no street signs up there.
No.
So there are things that you have to like markers, right? Like the Home Depot in Beaverton
lets you know that you're right there.
Obviously, the Interstate Bridge, the temple where 217 and I-5 meet. Like you can, these are things that like, they're markers from up above. I went out there. I went up twice. And the guy, Ron O'Brien, I think that was his name. He was super nice. He was so good at what he did. It just wasn't for me. Yeah. I couldn't go up there again.
You're like, this guy's got to take Dramamine every time he comes to work.
Yeah.
So you did.
So yeah, the traffic on 217. Yeah, not good.
People would pay to hear that.
Yeah.
So you were the traffic reporter. You were a radio producer at one point.
Yep.
You're doing play-by-play anywhere that they'll let you do it, including some Portland Lumberjacks.
Yeah,
and that's lacrosse.
National Lacrosse League, baby.
Where did they play? Memorial.
They played Moda Center.
Moda Center.
Yeah. So I think it was 2006 their first year.
I remember the logo.
Yeah.
And now lacrosse is huge. I have nephews and nieces who are huge into it now, but at the time it's still kind of on the rise.
Right. Where I grew up, lacrosse was huge, though.
Yeah.
Like my high school is nationally ranked every year. I never played.
So we knew all that the East Coast was big with it. They brought lacrosse as a club sport out west. Yeah. And where I went to high school, Lake Ridge High School in Lake Oswego, they are good.
Yep.
And I've got a couple nephews who play for them. But we were one of the original 5 or 6 teams in the state. It was so small that the high school on the other side of the lake they had to play for our team.
Wow.
So like our goalie was from Lake Oswego, not from Lake Ridge.
Okay.
And so it wasn't till years later that they separated. If you home or away games in league, we're in Hood River or Glencoe. I mean, none of it is within striking distance, but that was the beginning of it. So for Portland Lumberjacks games, how do you get the gig and what's the atmosphere in there?
So it was indoor lacrosse, which is actually a completely different game than outdoor lacrosse. Indoor lacrosse, like picture hockey on turf on the size of a...
Because it's a much smaller field.
90% of the league is Canadians. And it's just a different sport. The goalies in indoor lacrosse are equipped like hockey goalies. The goalies in outdoor lacrosse
don't have much.
The only thing below the waist they're wearing is a cup. And I was friends with the guy who played college lacrosse, lived across the hall from me, and he didn't wear a cup. How do you not wear a cup when you have basically a round hockey puck, a ball-shaped hockey puck being flung at you at 90 miles an hour. How do you do that? I don't know. I would say that takes something, but without a cup, you might not be able to have that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it takes a lack of brain cells, and since we're here in the trust tree, I'm going to tell you something. When I first started lacrosse, they were like, "Y'all need to go get a cup," and I played soccer. We didn't wear a cup, and so I was like, "I'll get one," but I don't have one yet. Third practice, I hear somebody say, "Drew, heads up!"
Oh no!
And I turn around and I just see this thing coming in, and I try to bring the stick down, and I can't get there. And this thing pins everything that makes a child against my own leg and just drops me on a pain that you can't even touch. Here's why I'm the biggest idiot, Trav. I came back to practice without a cup because I hadn't remembered to tell my mom I needed to go get one. So I'm like, well, just today. I'm not joking. On everything that's real in this world, I get drilled again. The fact that I have 3 children is almost impossible.
By the grace of God.
After that happened. So, yeah, I'm the idiot, and I caught one of those. But, yeah, a lacrosse ball to the junk.
Yeah, no.
It's one of the worst things that you can possibly deal with. Now, how long does the lumberjack thing go on?
So I did the radio for 2 years. The third season, they asked if I would come back and do it for free. Like, no.
Their league's in trouble.
Yeah. So the team ended up moving. I think they lasted for 4 years. The team ended up folding. But so the third year, there was this guy who was, a TV producer, and he'd done a bunch of stuff in the area. He asked me if I would do like a little magazine show for them.
Yeah.
So I did. And then he ended up producing some stuff for the old OSN. And I got to do Oregon Ducks sidelines on TV for a year. Because,
the Oregon Sports Network.
Yeah.
Was that when Joe Giansanti was?
Yes. Joe Giansanti was doing play-by-play. Sometimes Joey Harrington did the analyst role.
I remember all this because I was living in Eugene during all this.
This was the 2009 season. So the first game of that season, if you remember, LeGarrette Blount punched Byron Hout in the face at Boise State, gets suspended. So I think we only did one live on TV game because the other ones were on ABC or whatever, but we still produced every single game, and those were for replays and stuff. So the big Halloween game against USC, I'm on the sidelines for that as ABC is calling the game.
I have that picture on my wall in my office.
Is it the panoramic?
Yes.
I've been looking for that because I've seen it and I can find myself on it. And
really?
I need to find a picture of that. So I'm standing outside the tunnel. And I'm waiting for Joe to throw it down to me. And right as he's about to throw it down to me, I hear the motorcycle. And the duck comes out, and the players run behind me. And I can feel the wind of them. And I never heard the toss. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm on the air. Here we go. And just being on the field for that, I don't know that I've ever felt an experience quite like that.
The energy
unbelievable.
is electric.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough to be on the field for a couple times when that motorcycle comes out and they do the whole lap, and now the whole team comes down and takes a knee and just you just are. I mean, you could flex every muscle in your body standing there. They know how to get you juiced.
So that year, the Civil War was a Thursday night game, and the winner of that game was going to go to the Rose Bowl.
Oh, and so that was when we were doing Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah. It was a Thursday night game, and the winner was going to go to the Rose Bowl, and that game. So I'm on the air and I'm doing a live interview. Now again, this is not live because it was picked up by another network, but it was live to tape to be re-aired. I'm doing an interview with the new commissioner of the Pac-12, Larry Scott, and I'm live. And all of a sudden, I'm on the other side of the field, and the action's happening over here. All of a sudden, I hear in my ear, "Shut the bleep up! Shut up! Shut the bleep!" LeGarrette Blount got in the game for the first time since the punch, and he goes in and he scores a touchdown. And then after the game, I'm doing an interview. They went to it was the Rose Bowl year. They played Ohio State, first one they had been to since '94. And so I'm doing all the post game interviews and stuff. And they're like, "Okay, come here. We got." And then I interviewed LeGarrette Blount and Michael James together, and it was his first interview since the punch.
That's
and it was
amazing.
Just like, I am trying not to screw this up.
Dude. And that's so awesome. Because that whole time, I wanted Blunt to come back. I mean, you shouldn't hit people. I mean, he did teach that guy that never do that
Probably
again.
deserved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I was young enough to jump up and go, oh, and, kind of think it was awesome till they kicked him off the team.
Yeah.
And now it's not ideal. It's not much
He had a great NFL career, by the way.
Oh, he really did.
Yeah.
And you could see why they wanted him to come back for that. So why didn't you stay in that role? Because at some point you actually leave Portland.
Yeah.
What makes that happen?
So I did the Duck stuff for 1 year. They went in another direction the next year. It happens. And then the Pac-12 network came in, and there was no more of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I am working at this time. I'm working still hourly. I'm 29 years old. I'm working hourly at 1080 The Fan. I think I was getting $11 an hour. I was doing a morning talk show from 6 to 7 a.m. That was a Blazers focused show. And then I'm doing the morning update run until noon. At the same time, The Fan was on TV on what was then Comcast Sportsnet Northwest.
I remember that.
So I'd be in that studio until noon, and then I'd slide over and I'd direct and produce the TV version of Isaac and Suk's show, pushing buttons and things like that. And so I'm in that room from basically 5:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. every night.
Jeez.
And I'm still hourly, and I'm doing play-by-play on the side and doing all this stuff. Well, I had an opportunity to go work for Sirius XM. So I did. I moved to D.C.
You didn't want any more 11-hour days?
No. Yeah, it was a lot.
Or maybe that's a 13-hour day.
Yeah, long days. So I moved back there, and I'm doing updates across all of the SiriusXM sports platforms, MLB Network Radio, NFL Network Radio, the main channel, the Mad Dog Sports Radio. And then I would host on Sunday mornings on the SiriusXM College Sports Channel. I would host their College Sports Sunday, 8 to noon Eastern on Sundays. So I was doing all of that stuff.
Oh, nice. And so you do that for a while, and then something draws you back to the great Northwest. Make sure to download the brand new album from Audio Dub called Filter. It has not left my playlist ever since it came out. You can catch it on all your favorite platforms, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, whatever it is. They've got it on Amazon. Go check it out. Share it with a friend. They're going to love it. It has that summertime feel. And remember, everything else to do with the band, check them out today at audiodubband.com. Also, the Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. Everything to do with water and waste, they've got you covered. They're the people that we use in my family. And if you tell them Drew sent you, 10% off your first service. And Bruce and the gang are great, locally owned and operated, not private equity. And if you call this number, 971-431-4810, you can back it up and write it down if you want, and that will give you the discount, and I've got you covered. We want to make sure you're getting a good deal and you're finding good quality companies to work with, and that's why we are bridging the gap here. Check them out today at AxiomPDX.com. Also brought to you by Motorsport Hillsboro, the one-stop shop for all of your outdoor toys. And I love Motorsport Hillsboro because they are set on getting financing for anyone possible, the easiest and best financing around. And right now, they've got an incredible deal on the Gas G-Lite Trail 2.0 electric mountain bike, which is going for $21.99. That's 60% off and saves you over $3,000 off MSRP, but they will not last. Check them out today at motorsporthillsboro.com. And finally, brought to you by the Stafford Hills Club. Incredible facility over here. I'm sitting in the suites right now where work meets play, but right outside, people partying, enjoying the splash pad, the burgers being grilled by that saltwater pool. So nice. On top of that, the amenities are next to none. The world-class tennis facility, indoor and out, and much, much more. A place where people gather and a sense of community at Stafford Hills Club. Check them out today at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. Because you make a grand return to Portland at some point, which, when you say you were moving back across the country, I would have thought that was it.
So did I.
You came out here, you didn't want to move to Scappoose, you did some time, and you punted.
Yeah.
But you find your way back. What What happened?
So I got a call a little more than a year after I had moved back there. I moved to DC in March of 11. I got a call maybe in May of 12 saying, "Hey, we might have a spot for you." This was at 1080 The Fan, of doing a Monday through Friday midday show. Like over there, yes, I was hosting and I was full time,
but you're grinding weekends and
yeah, and my schedule was crazy, man. I was working I'd worked Tuesday through Saturday, and then I ended up doing the hosting stuff. But like Wednesday nights I'd do the overnight, and I'd work like 6:30 to 3 in the morning. Fridays I'd do a swing shift. Saturdays I did the morning shift. So my first update was 7 a.m.
You had no rhyme or reason to your sleep schedule.
Right, exactly. It was awful. But I'd get off of work on Saturday at 1 o'clock, and I wouldn't have to be at work again until Tuesday at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Then I started doing some more hosting stuff like that. But to have a daily talk show in this business,
reliable hours.
Yeah, I was always told, if you want to do it, find a way to do it. Well, I didn't want to be an update anchor. I wanted to be a talk show host and play-by-play guy. So I moved back here for that, and I started in June of 2012.
And so you do that for a while, and it seems like it goes for a bit, but then you do run into a buzzsaw in December of 2014. What happened?
Yeah, so I was doing a show with Josh Wilcox, former Oregon Ducks tight end. We did it for 2 years, and they took our show off the air in June of 14. And what they said to me, because I still had some time left in my contract, said, we want to move you to evenings. You're going to do 7 to 10 p.m. And what we want you to do is take the shows from the day and just kind of do a recap of the other shows. And I'm like, I see what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that. I want to do, if you want me to be on 7 to 10 outside the ratings period, just let me do whatever I want.
Yeah, and not sit and review other people's work.
So my boss at the time said, okay, make a plan and give it to me. So I went home that night. I didn't sleep. I put together like this 10-page plan, went to him the next morning. He said, okay. So I did that with my buddy Mike Lynch, who I have to mention Mike because I haven't talked to Mike in quite a while. I worked with him for a long time. I worked with him at the Blazers also. He was diagnosed with ALS about 2.5 years ago. And I physically can't talk about it for more than a couple of seconds. And if he or his family or his friends are listening to this, the last time I reached out to him was probably over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's hard.
It's hard because I don't know that he was physically able to respond, and I didn't know how or what to do next. And I'm sitting at a point right now where I haven't talked to him, and I don't know what kind of shape he's in right now or what he's going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about him every single day, but I don't know what to do, and it's hard. But so Mike and I did that show for 6 months, and then they let me go. And the crazy thing is, the day before Thanksgiving, pulled me into the office and said, "Hey, we're going to lay you off."
Really?
Yeah. You can either leave now or keep going through the end of the year. They let me come back and work for another month after they told me they were laying me off.
Which is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
When the last couple times that my ticket got punched, they suck you through a side door and then vacuum you out the back, and you don't even get to go grab your stuff.
So
I have been able to get my stuff a couple times. And I tip of the cap for letting me go get my stuff, but not unsupervised.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Armed security is with you.
Yeah. It's like, no, you could do whatever. Don't worry. And then you're like, you're standing really close to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. That was November 24th. I did my show through December 17th. And then that was it. I was on the beach.
And then you ran into I've kind of had a similar season currently in my life where that is a tough time when you get let go and you're looking for your next job. They call it on the beach. It's more like in hell.
Yeah. It was the darkest time of my life, without question. I'm 33 years old. I had devoted my entire life to my career. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have a house. I don't have any money. Got nothing to show for it because I thought I was going to get to a certain point and I hadn't yet. And that was tough, man. At the time, I was coaching high school baseball, so I kept doing that. I was doing horse racetrack announcing at Portland Meadows. And then I was doing some TV stuff up at Emerald Downs. So I'd go up to Auburn, Washington once a week for a couple $100 every Saturday for like 6 months. Whatever I could
to make
do.
it work.
And then one day in the spring, I called up the University of Portland. I talked to Jason Bro over there, and I said, "Hey, anybody calling your baseball games?" "No." "Can I?" I guess, but we can't pay. I don't care. So I went out there for free and called, 12 or 14 games that were just streaming on the University of Portland website just to get some tape. And then that fall, they were doing some TV. They're like, "Do you want to come do some TV for us?" Hell yeah. So I got to do
Were they willing to pay for that?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they paid me for that. That was an actual real job. And for the next couple of years, I was doing Portland Pilots, men's basketball, did women's for 1 year, and baseball. And got some TV play-by-play experience there.
Which is
just
huge.
because I went out there and did it for free.
And so as you're doing that, this whole time, are you looking for your next big
Anywhere
opportunity?
and everywhere,
Mhm.
all over the country. I wasn't even getting calls back from places in like small stations in Iowa, right?
Yeah, because when you're on the outside, the wheels of radio especially, and sports, I'm sure sports radio is probably the same. When you're on the outside, there is no urgency to bring you in or to communicate with you.
Right.
That is my number one gripe with the process is the lack of communication.
I can accept you not being interested,
You just tell me.
but just treat me with a little more respect.
Yeah, tell me so I can move on.
Yeah.
I liken it to a relationship. If you're leading me on or you're having me leave messages like, "Oh yeah, I'd like to talk to you," and they don't just flat out say, "I don't like you," or "I don't want to date
I
you."
can take no for an answer.
Yeah, because then I can move on.
Yes.
Closure is a
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And, I don't think I'll ever be in radio management because that's not the direction I chose to go in.
Yeah.
But if I was, that's something that I would bring to the table is be clear with people. And even if I need some time to make a decision, I'm going to tell them that
Right.
before I tell them
Yeah.
no.
Just give them a little more information. During this time also, I had done a lot of stuff for Comcast Sportsnet Northwest. I had hosted shows and done all kinds of stuff. And one day I get a call from Adam Willis, who was the senior producer over there. Adam's like family to me. I lived with him for a while. His sister sang at my wedding. Like they're like family to me. He calls me and says, I got a job for you. You're not gonna like it.
Oh God, I've dealt with
But
this.
it's money. Yeah. And it was a stage manager job, which is a very, very respectable job. Just not what I wanted to do. I needed money. So I took it. I think it was like $125 a shift. So I would go in, and my job as stage manager, you wear the headsets, you're pointing at cameras, you're getting water for the hosts. I used to host some of those shows.
And now you're the water boy.
Yeah. And I don't want to disrespect the job of stage manager because it is absolutely a respectable and important job in the industry.
Of course it is.
It didn't feel like it,
Mm-hmm.
but I did it. And sometimes you got to just swallow your pride and do what you got to do to pay the bills. And that's what I had to do.
And I've always been this way. And, I like to walk through life humbly like that, is that even back when I was doing stage productions, I always had so much respect for the stage crew. Yeah. And they don't get the notoriety. They don't get paid as much.
They work their asses off.
They work their ass off, and it's not going to happen without them. And so one thing about you having that job is it gives you perspective of what it takes to swallow your pride because, the person who's handing you water when you're the host, probably kind of feeling the same way. Like, I know what I'm qualified to do. When I'm at home, I don't have to grab everyone's water. So it's understandable, but I think it gives you perspective.
Yeah.
And so, I'm looking at some of the stuff and you're doing all that. Now, at what point, because what year is it when that's happening where you're doing?
2015, like the early part of 2015 is when I started doing that.
Because I feel like I meet you pretty close after that. So I come to iHeart in 2015, in November of 2015.
Yeah.
And meet you pretty soon after that.
So in the summer I had, because Wheels was doing the afternoon show, 3 to 5 on Rip City Radio. And my buddy Bobby Corser was, the producer and the assistant program director there.
Yeah.
And
love Bobby.
Bobby's the best. And he had me be a fill-in. I was one of the fill-ins. So I got to fill in a little bit for Wheels here and there. And then in the fall, the daily show schedule for Wheels along with his Blazers play-by-play was too much. So he stopped doing that. And they hired me to do it. And my first show was on my 34th birthday, October 25th, 2015. And now I'm doing the afternoon show. It was 2 hours, 3 to 5. They paid me part-time, $20 an hour. They gave me 20 hours a week. So I'm doing afternoon drive in a top 25 market for $400
Peanuts.
a week.
Mm-hmm. But you're still chasing the dream.
But I'm on the air. I'm doing a daily show. Now, eventually, they extended the show to 3 to 6, and
you get a promotion.
Yeah, and I was full time. It was still peanuts, but I'm full time. I've got benefits. I'm doing a daily show, and then some things changed, and now I'm the assistant program director. And then we brought in Chad Dewing to be my co-host in 2017. So that's kind of where I'm locked in now in 2017. I've got this going. I'm doing some Hops play-by-play on the side to make some extra bucks and keep that play-by-play dream going and scratch that itch while being in a pretty good spot doing afternoon drive in a top 25 market.
So at this point, you've done football, baseball, basketball, lacrosse, horse racing, everything from the high school level to college to professionals with the lacrosse and everything. I mean, you have the smorgasbord.
Yeah.
You're like a charcuterie board of play-by-play.
Yeah.
But it kind of builds in for you because more opportunity is on the way, right? Yeah. So while you're working there, you're doing all the stuff that, like you said, the pilots, hops, filling in wherever. When does the opportunity present itself where you might be able to do anything with the Blazers?
Yeah, I'm driving into work one day, and I'm really weird with dates. It was October 12th, 2017.
You're like an almanac, by the way. Like, you're like, I don't know years. You know the exact date of everything that happened to you.
I really hate being sometimes, like, just how my brain works. Stuff sticks and I don't want it to. I hate correcting people. I hate it because I feel like such an asshole. And I'm like, I don't want to be actually guy.
Yeah.
There are so many times where I don't want to be that guy and stuff sticks in my brain and I don't want to correct people. So I don't. But that's just how my brain works. I know dates. I know times.
It's right.
Yeah. So I get a call from Jeff Curtin, who is the Blazers director of broadcasting, and says, hey, are you free tomorrow night? We need somebody to fill in for Wheels to call the Blazers preseason game against Maccabi Haifa. I'm like, what?
Against who?
It was a team from Israel.
Like an international team?
Yeah, Maccabi Haifa.
Oh, okay. So like an exhibition type game.
Yeah, preseason game. And I'm like, you want me to call a Blazers game on the radio? Like, yeah, I think I can make that happen.
Yeah, I'm busy. Let me check my schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will cancel everything.
Yeah. So I had a day to prepare, and I went into that game and treated it like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
As you should.
And I was so nervous, man, because you don't realize the speed of the game. I'd called Division I basketball. Call an NBA game, even though, like, Dame didn't play and the big players didn't play and you're playing an international team, the speed of the game is so different. So I'm nervous, right? And it's, a few minutes before tip off. So I run downstairs to get something to drink and I feel this tap on my shoulder. And I turn around, it's Bill Schonely.
Yes.
Now, I had met the Shons
Bill
a couple of times, but I didn't know him at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at me and he says, "You're going to do great." And it put my mind at ease. So I went back and I called the game with Michael Holton, and I left there feeling like I knocked it out of the park.
That's awesome.
And Wheels had some health problems that year. Scott Lynn, who I mentioned earlier, filled in for him. And that was it. That was the only game that I did that year. The following year, the summer of 2018, Wheels needed surgery and he's going to be out for an extended period of time. So Jeff Curtin calls me again and says, hey, we'd like you to be the fill-in this year.
Which is huge. That means you killed the tryout.
Yeah. So I did every game from the start of the season until basically Thanksgiving, home and away. And I'm feeling like I'm living somebody else's life, man. Like I'm on the team plane and I'm staying in these nice hotels and all this stuff. And, it was amazing. And then Wheels came back. He did home games after that. And then around mid-February, it was, okay, Wheels is going to come back and do road games. And he did a couple of road trips, and he couldn't continue. So they call me back again. Can you be back on the road? Can you get on the plane tomorrow to go to L.A.? I'm like, yeah.
And the door kicks back open.
Yeah. So I did the rest of the road games through the regular season. I ended up doing 41 regular season games that year. And then comes the playoffs. Okay, here we go. Wheels is back at it. He does the Oklahoma City series. He does Dames, Shaw, Paul George.
I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an unbelievable experience, by the way.
I hugged and nearly made out with so many strangers that day. It was nuts.
Yeah. It was incredible.
You know, I almost wore that shirt. I have the shirt of him waving it off.
This is Dame Over.
Dame Over.
I got the same one.
With the stat line
the
below.
50 points.
Yeah. I've worn it so many times, it's almost gray.
Yeah.
But I love that shirt.
That moment, that was the last Blazers play that I've seen that I didn't call.
Wow.
And it was incredible to be able to watch that. So the next series, now they're playing Denver in the second round. And I get, being the assistant program director at Rip City Radio, the flagship, I'm dealing with all the behind the scenes stuff. So I get the email from Jeff Curtin. This is how we're handling it. Wheels and Michael Holton doing the road game. Cool. I get a call a couple of days later. Wheels can't continue. We need you back. And not just for the road games. We need you to do all of them. So now
in the playoffs,
I'm doing the playoffs. So I call games 1 and game 2 in Denver, split them, come back home. I hadn't done a home game since November. It was a Veterans Day game against the Celtics. Al-Farouq Aminu hit this crazy 3-point shot to win the game. And that was the last home game that I did. And here we are. It's April, and I haven't done a home game. I don't know what the feeling is of having the crowd behind you.
Yeah.
That game 3, was tied for the longest game in NBA playoff history and went 4 overtimes.
I forgot about that.
By the end of that game, my voice was shot. And I ended up calling the rest of that. We go to game 7 in Denver. Blazers hadn't been at the conference finals since, 2000. Game 7 was my son's first birthday. And I'm not there for it. It was also Mother's Day that day. And so go win that game, go to Golden State right from Denver, do the Western Conference Finals, and Blazers ended up getting swept. And
I thought you were going to leave that part out.
Yeah, well, they had a 17-plus point lead in 3 of the first 4 games. But
I know.
It was tough. But that's it, and I'm done. My time is up. I'd called 57 games that year, and I'm thinking I gotta keep doing this. This is amazing. Like.
I remember, because we were buds at this point, and
yeah.
I remember rooting for you so much. Every time I'd see a bag, what's the feel? What's the pulse? What do we got? And every time I had a chance, I'd be like, you're the guy. Just trying to will it into existence.
Before the first game of the season that year, 2018, Blazers-Lakers. Okay, LeBron's first game as a Laker was at Moda Center. And I'm on with you and Tanner that morning, and you're like, you got to get something in for us and for our listeners. I'm like, what do you want me to say? To make an AC/DC reference.
Yes.
Nick Stauskas scored 24 points that night. And when he hit a big 3 right in front of the Lakers bench, and they called timeout, and I said, and the Lakers are thunderstruck. Like, yes, I got it in for those guys.
I remember
I did that for you, buddy.
That was awesome.
But yeah, so at the end of that, I'm like, I got to keep doing this. Like, I got to see if I can get a job with another team. And I'm thinking I'm moving. I think I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, and you thought you were, but that wasn't going to be the deal because at some point that job opens up.
Yeah. Wheels wasn't able to continue. It was in July that came out. And obviously I want this. So I talked to Jeff Curtin. I've seen this. Well, Travis just lucked into it because, he was filling in for Wheels and, they just gave him the job. I was able to fill in for Wheels because the preseason nibble they gave me, I did a good enough job. And then they took a chance on me to do the following year. They did a search. Like, it was 2.5 months before they hired me. And I went to multiple interviews. There were other finalists. And then in September, they finally called me and offered me the job that I was going to be the next radio voice of the Portland Trailblazers. And, people say the voice of the Blazers. Bill Schonely is and always will be the voice of the Blazers. I'm the radio voice of the Blazers. That's my title. I'm the radio voice of the Blazers. There will only ever be one voice of the Blazers. That's Bill Schonely. I get to sit in his chair.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy. But I'm going to push back a little bit on anyone who wants to say, oh, you got handed this, or oh, your luck. you know what life is? Life is about luck and opportunity and a little term that goes by the line of seize the moment.
Yeah.
And guess what happens to 99.9% of the people who get swung into that seat? They swing and they miss.
Yeah.
And all you can do is hope for an opportunity in life and then seize the moment. And the fact that you did that, you should hold your head up high. Yeah, there is luck in opportunity for every person who exists on the plane of this earth. So I don't like hearing all that crap because, you want to talk about luck? We just went through like 30 jobs for $20.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the seasons of your life that you have to go through. I'm not here to hear all that.
I was always told that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly.
I made my luck.
And if anybody who doesn't know this, your preparation for a game is crazy.
Oh, I should have brought one of the sheets.
And what we'll do is you send me a picture of one, and when
they're all over my social media too.
Cool. And I'll put one up on my story when the episode comes out so people can see it. It's just the stats that are there and all of the things that you put together yourself ahead of a game to make sure that you are ready.
It's probably 6 hours of work per game.
I mean, that's a serious amount of homework for some guy who's quote unquote lucky.
Yeah.
See, I'm a little defensive.
Yeah, I appreciate that. By the way, somebody needs to do one of these on your story because I need to know more about your story.
Well, we've had little episodes about pieces of my story, but the story's still being written, Trap.
That's a good point. Both of ours.
The big part of it is coming up. And I do kind of want to ask, and it's kind of been the elephant in the room. You know, we're under new ownership.
Yeah.
And the media and the talking heads and the internet, they want to talk about it. There's a lot of drama about leases at the Moda Center and are they going to stay? Are they going to go? It's up in 2030. Can they get a deal done? I'm not asking you about that necessarily, but there's also been a lot of rumors about your future. And the future of broadcasting with the Blazers. Is there anything that you can share with us on that front?
Yeah, it's weird because I get messages from people saying, "Hey, did you see this social media post?" And like to have people talking about you and talking about your finances or what you should or shouldn't do, it's really weird. It's really weird because I'm not a player. Yeah, look, people have an opinion about me, of course, and people tell me that I suck. I've had people tell me, they hope I die. It's terrible, but that's
part of the job.
It's part of the job. Having your finances talked about isn't one of those things, and that's hard. Like it's having memes. I've seen memes about it's awkward, and I don't think people realize that. Like, I don't want to be like a pawn in somebody's agenda about a particular topic. Like, because of this illustrates that. I don't want to be that. I can't stop people from talking about that. It's just it's hard, and I try and distance myself from it. I don't think anybody really knows exactly what the future holds, the very near future or long-term future. All I know is that I love the Trailblazers. I love calling games for the Blazers. It's a part of my heart and soul. Nothing either way is set in stone, and I hope to be calling Blazers games again in the fall. And
it's also one, and I hope you are too. It's also you're a real person with a public job.
Yeah,
and I've been there my whole life too, and it's like people, especially with the internet, and as that's advanced, they say things there that they would never say to a person face to face because they would think that that's inappropriate. But for some reason, because you're behind a screen, you feel like you should chime in with these things. And really, a lot of people could just stay in their own lane on it because like anybody, including you and me, we want to do what we love. We want to do it well, and we want to feed our family.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple operation.
Yep.
And you deserve great things. And of course, I saw all the stuff online about where they're going through all the things. Like, and you were mentioning Sean's and Michael Holton. I played in the Sean's golf tournament a number of years ago, and had like a at the time, I had a very productive morning radio show, and they were like, we're going to team you up with a celebrity when you get there. And it was Michael Holton. We played the whole round together. And so, like, you know, I find like a love for those people, and you grow with them in their role. And so anyone and everyone who this is affected, of course, it breaks my heart because I enjoy them in their role.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes all the way back to the last time this stuff happened when Mike and Mike from the broadcast lost their job.
Yep.
It is part of the industry, but it's also, people don't realize that it's little to none of their business, the human aspect, or you judging the human aspect of it.
Yeah. And it's hard because I'm just trying to say the right things right now. And I don't want to do anything to cast anybody in a negative light or anything like that. I'm going to miss working with some people that are mentors of mine. Kevin Calabro, man, that dude is one of the best that's ever lived.
He's a legend.
And getting to travel with him, you know, I felt like Chris Farley in the Saturday Night Live sketches with Paul McCartney. Like, hey, Kevin, remember that game that you called? That was awesome.
That was awesome, man.
But getting to learn from him and pick his brain and being around Michael Holton and, you know, learning basketball from him, like, and life things from him. Like, he is a great human being. You know, it's too bad that I'm not going to get the opportunity to do those things anymore, but I'm so thankful that I've been able to.
And you can carry that stuff forward with you.
Yeah.
Now, I hope that, you know, you remain in the seat because I really enjoy you there. And even when you called, you filled in and did some TV, I felt bad because I was so, the friend in me was like so excited that I texted you. And then I was like, wait, I just texted him in the middle of the broadcast when I'm a broadcaster.
Dude, I do that to people. Like, sometimes if I hear somebody calling a national game, I'll shoot them a text. Like, I know how it works. Like, your phone's in their pocket, they're feeling it buzz, and they'll get to it in a break.
They'll get at it
something.
later,
Yeah,
but just know that I only did that because I was so excited for you. And I've always felt this way, and I told you this when Rumor Central started to go, is I truly believe in you and your ability and the drive that you have and your preparation.
Thank you.
And I hope and pray that it's Portland. And I want to hear, I can barely use the urinal at the Moda Center without listening to Travis Demers, which they do play your voice in the bathroom.
Yeah, some people are sitting on the john listening to me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've helped people work through some things.
I hope so.
But
whatever I can do to make their experience better.
For me, in a perfect world, you're right here, but I also know how talented you are, and I refuse to believe that you won't be where you deserve to be. And if that's not here, it's one of the other teams.
Well, if I have my choice, I'll be here till I'm done working.
100%. So I did want to, so we will find out. Everything will come out in the wash on what happens moving forward. But I am Team Travis all the way. I want to do a little lightning round with you.
Sure, let's do it.
Before we get out of here. And I'm just going to fire off, and you just give me a kind of a quick off the top of your head answer, unless you really feel like you want to get into the story. I'm good for whatever. Okay, here we go. First one, favorite Blazer you ever covered?
It's Dame. I mean, I've been around the team since the 03-04 season. Everything that you see and hear about Dame is exactly who he is. He's that kind of guy. In Milwaukee, his second year in Milwaukee, I had, him being divorced and having his kids back in Portland while he's in Milwaukee is tough on him. I got divorced about 2 years ago. And when I saw him in Milwaukee, he asked me how I was doing.
That's awesome.
Like, is it that big of a deal? No. But the point being, he cares about people.
And that's real stuff.
It is real stuff. There were no cameras around. He's that kind of guy. The things you hear about him are true. And forget about the unbelievable things he's done on the court. I've called every one of his 60-plus point games, his 71-point game. Him as a person, that's why he's my favorite guy that I've covered.
Mm-hmm. And I love Dame, too. I love him as a player, but I also have, because of where I live, I've seen him in the wild.
Yeah.
And I've seen him interact with people, and he's very humble. He's very chill. He's courteous. He could be a diva if he wanted.
Totally.
He's not.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Favorite arena to call a game?
It's easy to say Madison Square Garden because I grew up a Knicks fan in New York and I grew up going to that arena.
And I've seen your smile on your face there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the location there and where we have to go, like, it's one of the worst broadcast positions for radio in the NBA. But being in the Garden is very special. Indiana, the concourses there are a museum. It's amazing. It's not a newer arena, but
they do it right.
They really do. And Indiana is basketball.
That's folklore,
heaven.
yeah.
That arena it's magic. It really is.
What is the toughest game you've ever had to broadcast? Anything technically go wrong, or is it just the position?
Well, when we've had to do games remotely, like there was a game in the 21-22 season, we were calling games remotely. We were on the road, but we got held back because of COVID was, I guess there was another outbreak or something. There was a game in Boston. The Blazers won that game. In the fourth quarter, there's a key play where Yusuf Nurkic goes to the basket, puts it in, missed the first shot, gets the second one to go and was fouled. And I'm thinking, okay, it's an and one, and that's how I'm talking about it on the radio. Well, the sync was off, and the whistle was actually on the first shot. So the basket didn't count. It wasn't an and one. It was 2 free throws. Those kinds of things, and when we were calling games remotely, those are really, really, really challenging. Calling games remotely is really challenging. But also, like, the very first game that I ever called courtside. So I did the one preseason game. The next year, the first preseason game that I did was in Vancouver. Blazers Raptors in Vancouver. And I'm sitting courtside for the first time ever. It is 1,000 times faster courtside than it is up where we usually sit.
Okay.
And you're blocked by the coach walking in front of you, the officials walking in front of you, and you really can't see things. You have to learn how to see things. That's one of the hardest experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, I can only imagine it's got to be on another level. Most underrated part of being a play-by-play announcer.
Oh, man.
Hitting you with the tough ones here.
The most underrated part of it. You get to show up to work and do something you love. Like, I literally, every day I go to work, I'm like, I get to do this. Like, I have never once with this job thought, I don't want to go to work today. Not once, ever.
And you always present well. If people haven't seen it, you come in dressed to the nines, fresh pair of Jordans, hair cleaned, ready, or not clean, but cleaned up, cut-wise. Never a hair out of line.
Got to match the Jordans to the suit.
That's right. And you do it right. What's your best advice to young broadcasters?
The same advice that I was given. If there's something you want to do, find a way to do it. Because if you want to be on the air, find somewhere to go be on the air and get reps. Because if you want to be on the air and you're producing, guess what? You're going to end up being a producer. Whatever it is that you want to do, even if it's something that nobody's listening to, go do it. Find a way to do it. And don't give up.
And I think that's great advice because it can get discouraging when you're board opping at midnight or whatever it is. I don't think there were many people listening midnight to 6 a.m. on KDUK, KDUK in Eugene when I was kicking off my career. But also, it was probably best people didn't hear me. Needed to get a little bit of rust off this thing. Exactly, and get it going. What's one game you'll never forget?
The 4 overtime game. I mean, every time you thought that game was going to be over, it just kept going. And kept going and kept going. And guys are fouling out. And then, unsung heroes, Rodney Hood coming up with huge plays. And like that game, it was the game that never ended and the game you didn't want to end. And the fact that the Blazers won that game made it a little better.
So like after that, you were probably almost like, was I there? Did that happen?
Yeah, it was incredible. Chad Doing was doing the fifth quarter up in the 300 level, and he was on to like 2 a.m. I had so much energy. I ran up there and I was on with him for like an hour after that. Like it was unbelievable.
What is your favorite interaction with a player, coach, or vet of the NBA?
Man, there's a lot of them. Like getting to know Mike Breen, who was somebody that I listened to calling Knicks games growing up. But this year in the playoffs in San Antonio, Reggie Miller was calling game 1. So I'm at shoot around, several hours before the game, and I see Reggie just hanging out there in sweats. Now, keep in mind, I was 12, 13 years old during the Knicks-Pacers rivalry era.
And that was war.
Yeah.
The choke and the whole thing.
If you've ever seen the 30 for 30, Reggie Miller versus the New York Knicks, whatever it's called, I despised Reggie Miller as a basketball player. I didn't like to admit that I actually do like him as a broadcaster, and he actually seems like a pretty fun, nice dude, but I would never publicly ever admit that anywhere.
Yeah, he's the guy you love on your team. When he's on the other side, you're like,
absolutely.
I hate this guy.
So he's watching practice, and I go over and I introduce myself to him, tell him who I am. He's like, oh, yeah, how's it going? And then he starts picking my brain about the team, about the game. You're trying to do his job and his research. And he was great. A few minutes into that, I look at him and say, hey, Reggie, so I grew up in New York. And he looks at me, he just starts laughing. And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he's doing like laughing. He's like, I know where this is going. I'm like, yeah, I was 13 years old in 1995. Game 1 at the Garden crushed me. Patrick Ewing missing that shot in Game 7. I cried, man. I cried. I despised the Pacers and I despised Reggie Miller. And he looks at me and he's got this big smile on his face. And he extends his arms out wide and he goes, let me apologize. Come here, give me a hug. And he not only does he hug me, but he does the little pat on the back.
He gave you a
pat on the back type thing. He's like, I'm sorry. I just want to apologize and want to apologize for being the reason that you cried. And I'm like, is Reggie Miller my best friend now? Like,
can I get your cell phone number?
Are we friends? Like, is Reggie Miller cool now? And then we had a fun moment. And then we're talking a little bit more about the game. And as we're departing, he goes, just want to apologize again. If you can get into a time machine and apologize to 13-year-old me,
yeah,
right,
exactly.
Then we're cool.
But it's like dry my tears.
Now, this is all like just the sports fan, petty sports fan. We've all got a little bit of that in us. There's a number of players who, for whatever reason or another, I despise. Pedro Martinez, as a Yankees fan, despise Pedro. But I watch him on TV, and it's like, that dude's fun. Why am I finding myself liking Pedro Martinez? This is not okay.
And for those who don't know, playing for the Boston Red Sox, he was an arch enemy.
Yes,
to the Yankees.
Totally. But now Reggie's my friend, and I text my buddy Kevin, who is the biggest Knicks fan I've ever met in my life. He flew down to San Antonio for Game 5 when the Knicks won the title. He did not really appreciate me telling him that story.
Yeah, but at some point you got to soften the blow. You know, I always say this, and you can quote me: real fans cry.
Yeah.
Real fans hold grudges. But when you see the human side of somebody and you become a kind of a colleague, it's different. You can wash it off a little bit. You know, there are many moments across all sports. I'm still mad at the New Orleans Saints for cheating and for Bountygate. Do you know they straight up stole my Vikings championship?
Yeah.
I'll forever be mad. I look at Sean Payton, I'm like, you cheating, palm lining weasel. But I have to let it go. If he was in the room and he was being nice, man, I might just let it go.
There are some things as a Vikings fan that are just part of sports, right? Gary Anderson.
Yes.
As a Giants fan, I'm sorry I have to bring this up, but 41-0. There are some things that are just part of it. But the fact that was something that could have and should have gone differently, that's hard to swallow, man.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, I think it's amazing that you took the time to be here, and I truly thank you for that. I say it to people all the time, and now it's locked in on the podcast here that you grinded your way to this. You did it, and you did it for small wages, no wages, get me in the door, move me across the country, back again. We talked Oregon Trail. They didn't ever go back.
No,
and then back over. They would have got malaria.
Yeah.
You played the game. You just can't keep crossing this country.
Dysentery.
Yeah, exactly. And how many times do you have to stop and hunt for beaver pelts?
Yeah, no kidding.
It really is a lot.
How many oxen do you have left?
Running low.
Real quick, I do want to say something if I can, because my parents have been unbelievably supportive. There have been other people in my family who are like, well, why doesn't he just come home and get a real job? My parents have been unbelievably supportive. My mom on the East Coast still listens to every single game. Even if they start at 10:30, 11 o'clock, she'll stream it and listen. Having their support, there's no way I'd have been able to do this without, them being in my corner.
Oh, yeah. And I will agree with you, too. And I don't think for me, I'll just talk on myself, that there were times where when you're making $17,000 a year when I signed that contract, I knew and they knew there would be times where I had to ask for their help.
Yeah.
you couldn't follow your dream without it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have 2 or 3 roommates at a time, but you still are just not enough ducats there. And so I hope for my children, I can help them follow their dreams. And I don't think there is any shame in that.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, especially what a radio station wants to pay the new guy, there would be no new guys without a support system.
Right.
So I think parents they're the backbone behind it all. And one day when my kids ask, I will just turn my phone off.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. They already get all my cash.
Yeah.
So from everything you've been through, I want people to take that lesson that, yeah, it might not be the opportunity that you think that you deserve, but if you keep grinding, you might find yourself right here like Travis Demers, the radio voice of the Portland Trail Blazers. And of course, you are keeping the legacy alive, and we're super proud of you, buddy.
Dude, thank you. Thank you for having me. When you said you were starting this podcast, I wanted to be a part of it. For people who don't know your story, man, it's not that far off from mine. And you are a pro. You are a great human being. I've never heard anybody even hint at something negative about you. I'm lucky to know you, and I'm really appreciative that you asked me to come on.
Thanks, brother. And yeah, we got to hang out more often, and I'm going to come and just man hug you the next time we win a playoff game at the Moda Center, and you call that game. Right here at the Stafford Hills Club with Travis Demers, the radio voice of the Trailblazers.